Alrighty, Wizards of the Coast has dropped a ton of info on us about Candlekeep Mysteries, and I cannot wait to dive in and see what it is. Supposedly, right here, they're giving us all the info about all the adventures, and more importantly, all the authors. And that's important because the authors will give a unique spin. You can definitely give two people the same theme, but they're going to take it in two different directions. And once again, that is what I love about this new book, because it is going to be such a thrill to have so much diversity and change. Let's go ahead and take a look at the start here. Okay, it's looking like it's just basically what they've told us before. Levels 1 through 16, 17 adventures, which means that either we're going to see a bunch of, just like little level gaps here and there, and then a whole bunch of adventures on the same boat, or we're going to have, just one repeating level and that's it. Either way is perfectly fine with me. Candlekeep comes out on the 16th. Let's get started with book 1 here, The Joy of Extradimensional Spaces by Michael Polkinghorn. So we get a ton of great info here about Michael. He was a nerd through and through throughout his whole life. He played D&D for a long time, even got into some, good old-fashioned Grenadier, some really old stuff. And here it is. Eventually, at one point, the D&D team reached out to Michael through the podcast email address and asked if he wanted to be part of Candlekeep Mysteries. Of course, I said yes. I would say yes, too. Wizards of the Coast, send me an email. I want to be part of it. So, working with Chris Perkins, he set forth and made a little adventure. So, apparently, Chris Perkins here is working as a full-time moderator here. Not only did he write his own adventure for this book, but he also had to, convene with everyone else here. Pretty interesting. It says he also acted as the brakes on the way more outlandish ideas. I'd lay down the first version of the story, and he'd point out what level I'd suggest would require a brand new non-canon 9th level spell. I'd say, okay, well, how about we do it this way? And for the idea on this adventure, he got the idea from playing in an escape room over in a neighboring town in Sebastopol. And I thought it'd be an awful lot of fun to have an adventure like that. Then I remembered that back in the day, Chateau d'Amberville, Castle Amber, which is once again a very, very old school but totally awesome adventure from the X series, was basically one giant escape room. You get stuck in a mansion full of strange people with weird magical things are happening, and you have to figure out your way back into reality. In my story, the mystery is the mansion itself. So we've been told before, or it's somewhat inspired on Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion. So that's telling me that we're going to be finding ourselves in a cool little mansion and getting into some strange things. Pretty awesome stuff. For book 2, we have Maxfroth's Mighty Digressions by Alison Huang. So all the way back in October of 2019, Chris Perkins actually tweeted out asking for freelance writers. And fortunately for Alison here, she got a reply back. Her book is detailing out some security issues. And as soon as you first read it, it looks like there's going to be like a security issue with Candlekeep itself. And that's true. The actual Candlekeep itself in-game, not in reality. So, books have been vanishing from the library. The adventurers are tasked with investigating the people who brought the books into the library in the first place, but things are very much not what they seem. So that's pretty cool. We're getting a mystery dealing with a mansion. We're getting a mystery dealing with disappearing books. So we're clearly seeing the mystery aspect of this adventure, which is what we wanted, right? Because I feel like in a lot of the adventures that we've gotten, there really isn't too much of a mystery. It's more of a hack and slash, or of a more you just stumble across something kind of thing. The fact that you're buying into a mystery is a ton of fun. And once again, it's showing off here that Chris Perkins is doing a lot of the legwork here, interacting with all these people. The concept of Maxfroth's Mighty Digressions arose from the back and forth I had with Chris during the pitching stage. It definitely wouldn't be what it is without Chris's opinion on what direction I should take my story. Unfortunately, I can't give anything else away without it being spoilers. Makes sense. And something very important here, she actually mentions that because D&D is so magic heavy and rich, that you do have to think about those extra layers. What happens if someone casts detect magic? You do have to think about what are the ramifications for the adventure in that way. And of course, another great thing I'm loving about this book is not only is it a series of one-shots, or it can be a full-blown campaign, you can go ahead and rip this out and put it into any other campaign. It's a good adventure to run when you as a DM are beginning to figure out what goals each character has, and you're starting to drop hints about what's to come. Maxfroth's Mighty Digressions, the book, not the adventure, and is an electric series of essays, which means you can decide what information and plot hooks it contains. And look at that, favorite detective, Phoenix Wright. How can you go wrong with that? Awesome stuff. Book 3, Book of the Raven, by Christopher Perkins, and of course Milo. Milo's the important part here, lovable dog. Chris Perkins has been working with Wizards of the Coast in some capacity for quite some time. He started off doing a whole bunch of stuff for the good old-fashioned Dungeon magazine, and then eventually worked his way into the main company itself, and has been the big person on a lot of these projects, which is absolutely fantastic. So here we get a little design process here. Each writer was given the same instructions to pitch a short adventure revolving around a book in a Candlekeep library. Each writer was given a level range in which to set their adventure, as well as license to create their own book and the mystery surrounding it. I reviewed the pitches and made sure that every adventure felt unique. After the pitches were approved, I reviewed first drafts and gave feedback. We assigned each adventure to a developmental editor, and then I came in behind the editors to do the final edit and copy. So yeah, he's pulling double duty here. He's writing his own thing, and then he's going ahead and interacting with all these writers. That's a lot of writers to work with. You know, there's 16 other writers. That is a lot to cover, right? You have to be pitching out a ton of different ideas, and you have to say, okay, you know, do all these revisions and stuff, but I'm glad they're doing it. That's showing that they're putting in a lot of attention in detail and time, and that's fantastic. And in regards to his own little adventure, I didn't intend to publish it, but the adventure was the right length and level to fill a particular hole in the book. The mystery is straightforward. The characters find a treasure map nestled in the pages of a book. Where the map leads is a mystery. And his favorite detective is Sherlock Holmes, so that's telling me it's definitely going to be, you know, just a classic, you know, you're going to a place and you got to figure out a thing. And that's awesome. I'm okay with that. And especially if it is a lower level adventure, considering it's only book 3, that's probably telling us that it's, you know, pretty early on. Book 4, we have A Deep and Creeping Darkness by Sarah Madsen. So while this may be Sarah's first project here, that is not her first work in regards of D&D. She's put out several things in regards of Kobold Press and the DM's Guild. Sarah's tale begins with a book that describes a mining disaster, prompting the adventurer to search for a missing town and a mystery that will keep them guessing until the end. Creepy stuff, you know, the mining disasters, you know, that's probably going to be like some ghost or something, or I don't even know. That's going to be creepy. The idea that the adventure has to revolve around a mystery was a really fun concept, and I'm a fan of mystery format and always very impressed with those who can pull off the necessary twist. A lot of times mysteries center around the idea of a missing item or person, but I thought, what if a whole town went missing? Ugh. You know what? What the heck? Is it going to be like a town that's walking around or something? Creepy. For book 5 here, we have Shemshime's Bedtime Rhyme by Ari Levitch. While Ari contributed to Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus alongside Adam Lee, Candlekeep Mysteries was the first opportunity to write an adventure for an official D&D product. And Ari goes on to saying it was a new challenge because I'm not telling the story, I'm writing a how-to manual that allows others to tell the story. You know, writing these adventures is no easy task, right? You got to write for just a general public, you got to write for a general population, say, hey, this is how the adventure can kind of go down. And then obviously everyone takes it in their own separate directions. Ari's adventure, Shemshime's Bedtime Rhyme, takes place in Candlekeep itself in a forgotten area called Firefly Cellar. He admits that while it was exciting to get to play in such a storied place in Candlekeep, it was also a little intimidating. Each of these adventures is a book, and some of them take you far away from Candlekeep. My adventure, Shemshime's Bedtime Rhyme, is strictly based in a small section of Candlekeep itself, in a place called Firefly Cellar, which houses a neglected collection of books, he tells Dragon Plus. So yeah, right there, we're definitely getting the full-blown information that yes, we're going to have adventures that take place in Candlekeep, and then we're going to have adventures that don't take place in Candlekeep. I like that. I like the idea of adventures that are taking place all over the place, because unfortunately, if you're running a very, very, you know, homebrewed game, but you want to have all this in, it may not make sense to have this in a library somewhere. You know, you may want these adventures to take place elsewhere. So that's telling me that if you want to have this adventure but not have it in Candlekeep, then maybe you just go ahead and say that it's in some, you know, library cellar just somewhere all across the realm. For book 6 here, we have The Price of Beauty by Mark Hulmes. Mark Hulmes is definitely more of a face of the community. He's done a lot of live streams. He's been on Critical Role. He's, you know, doing his own thing. He's got his own show with D&D. But he's not just a face. He is also writing for Candlekeep. Candlekeep Mysteries is about to teach adventurers that the phrase "don't judge a book by its cover" is much of a health warning as it is a suggestion not to get hung up on outward appearances. Picking up any tome in the walled library, no matter what its text says on what images play across its cover, can be like stepping through a doorway to an adventure perhaps not everyone will survive. and a nod to that well-knowing. It's important to note that not every writer can be judged by their Twitter handle. I wholeheartedly agree. And that is referring to, of course, on Twitter, his handle is Sherlock Holmes, because why wouldn't it be, right? Mark landed his gig with Candlekeep Mysteries after meeting Bill Benham and other members of the D&D team at Lucca Comics and Games Convention in Italy. He chatted with them about High Roller's live play stream and his homebrew creations and thought nothing of it. Then out of the blue, he received a message. I was about to sit down and play video games and looked at an email that came from Bill and Chris Perkins, and it said they wanted me to write an official adventure. I felt so honored to be asked. I did write back and say, "Look, you do know I've not done this professionally before, so this will be a first time." Bill reassured him, though, that he'd be able to get to develop the adventure and build up the skills as needed. In regards of the book, Price of Beauty is a book about improving your appearance and feeling good about yourself, but there's another element of it. If you're not feeling particularly good about yourself, you can be transported to a magical day spa run by 3 elven sisters, and that spa is where my adventure takes place. You can enjoy its many spa services and take part of other activities if you want, but there's more of a mystery going on for those who want to engage with it. Those who take the time to explore may uncover some sinister undertones. It's meant to be a very fun episode and can act as an escape from your main campaign. Maybe the cleric is going to treat themselves from a break babysitting the kids, aka the adventuring party. So once again, we're getting a lot of information here about there's all these, mysteries, and some of them may seem more serious, but this definitely seems like it's one of those, you just kind of throw it in as a palate cleanser, but then there is some fun to it. I wholeheartedly agree that there should be some elements of that in pretty much every adventure where you're doing adventuring things, and then all of a sudden, it's an everyday normal event, but maybe there is some creepy, seedy undertones hidden away in there. Book 7, we have the Book of Cylinders by Graeme Barber. So starting off here, we see that the inspiration for Graeme's story comes from some of the cooler bits of archaeological knowledge I have absorbed over the years, says Graeme Barber, going full Indiana Jones as he describes his first addition to the official D&D publication. The titled Book of Cylinders describes a set of engraved cylinders found within a book in Candlekeep Library, which tell a gripping tale when rolled across wet clay, and it certainly lives up to the archaeological reputation as it harks back to some of the earliest days of recorded history in the Forgotten Realms. And here it says that is something that he really enjoyed, the part of diving into the deep history and lore that is the Forgotten Realms. It's been around for quite some time, so there's a lot of things written about it. Graeme also notes that he often mines pre-made adventures for ideas, treasures, monsters, and concepts, and any DM who does the same will be able to add the Gripply to their 5th edition games. Book of Cylinders updates these frog folk who are distant relatives to bullywugs and sheds light on Gripply society. This adventure makes a fun and unusual side quest. Okay, so we're interacting with some distant frog people. That'll certainly be interesting. So with this one, we're dealing with some sort of archaeological thing and some frog people. I can't wait to see more of it. For Book 8, we have Sarah of Yellowcrest Manor by Derek Ruiz. He goes on to say that the whole process of writing it in secret was surreal and fun. It didn't feel real because I couldn't mention it to anyone. So when the day of the announcement finally came, it felt pretty cool, Derek tells Dragon Plus. I believe I was given the chance to participate through a combination of my product library on the DM's Guild, my any award-winning blog, and my Patreon presence. Yeah, it's definitely seeming like you got to get that out there in the community, and then Wizards will go ahead and suck you up. And that's something I definitely want to aim for. I definitely want to put out some stuff, and then hopefully I can go ahead and work just like these guys, because that would be an absolute delight. In Sarah of Yellowcrest Manor, a haunted book points a ghostly finger at the perpetrators of an unsolved mass killing in Waterdeep. This mystery features urban and dungeon exploration as well as otherworldly campaign villain and is best suited for a mid-tier party with plans to head north from Candlekeep. My story revolves around a woman's diary which has been sold to Candlekeep and then misplaced through a library's gigantic collection of books. The diary contains previously unknown information about the terrible crime that occurred some years back, and the diarist's spirit cannot rest until justice is served. I like that. I like how we're getting, once again, just a nice little splattering of places. We're going to archaeological places. We're going to, wherever the heck in Candlekeep. We're going to Waterdeep. This is a ton of fun. Book 9, The Lore of Lurue by Kelly Lynn D'Angelo. As with all the writers here, Kelly is super ecstatic to be able to write for D&D in a official capacity. I can't blame them because that'd be awesome. I love unicorns, deities, the power of the moon, and D&D exploration, and I have much reverence for the Forgotten Realms, Kelly explains. Being able to dive into a space and begin to tangibly play with it like putty made me feel like I was becoming part of the world. I knew that once other players read this, they would be excited about those same spaces, so it felt as if I was contributing to the environment, and that's what D&D is all about. So this adventure supposedly is taking place through the High Forest, and it's dealing with Lurue, the Unicorn Queen, and Millard, the Beast Lord. I'm sure there's probably going to be some conflict with that. I wanted to dive into a unique storytelling format. This is an enchanted storybook, and the players are literally journeying through its pages. Well, that's pretty cool. Instead of going to an actual place, we're going to a book. You know, I totally dig that. At first, I honestly thought that was what all the adventures were going to be. I thought all the adventures were going to be you open up a book because they said that the books were all a portal. I guess some people took that literally. And yeah, Kelly says it felt like a cool one-off way to storytelling, something that can be easily dropped into any campaign. Makes sense. If you just go ahead and pick up a book and you get sucked into its pages, yeah, you can fit that pretty much anywhere. Interesting here, though, Kelly said the only real issue encountered for the construction of this was the creation of maps. She felt dumbfounded for several hours. I conceptualized things in my head and described them very articulately, but in terms of taking my physical hand and making them real, that's not a skill set I possess. I had to figure out a way to convey my ideas in a way that looked clean and sleek without spending 2 weeks in advanced online college class learning how to draw. I have so much respect and reverence for anybody who has an ounce of physical artistry with them. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing for someone to go ahead and write an adventure, but to go ahead and write an adventure and add maps to it, I certainly think that is a very niche amount of people that can actually do the combination of the two. Typically, you're working with a lot more people to get an adventure together. But I feel like that's kind of what the whole group is here for. They're definitely coming together to have a fun shared experience throughout this entire book. And man, I remember watching The Adventures of Mary Kate and Ashley as a kid, when I was like a really, really young kid. I totally forgot it existed. For book 10, we have Candlekeep Deconstruction by Amy Vorpal. Once again, you know, at first you think that's a kind of typo there, but we know that it's there on purpose. It starts off by saying that Amy is no stranger to mysteries. As a player in college, it took around 3 years of a campaign to discover that one of the party members was a doppelganger the whole time. That is a long time to keep a secret. Holy bejesus, that's something you gotta really keep in there. In Candlekeep Deconstruction, a stolen book leads the adventurers to a tower in the walled library that is more than it seems. My adventure follows an event that forces Candlekeep's archmages to double down on security. The PCs need to solve the mystery of who or what could be compromising the structure and then deal with them before it's too late, Amy reveals. My inspiration came from the pitch itself. After reading the passages about Candlekeep that was included in the initial instructions, I couldn't stop picturing the maze of a bookshelves and all of the nooks and crannies that held so much potential secrets. Ooh, so yeah, we're dealing with some like weird, issue in Candlekeep. I love this, how we're bouncing back and forth between the nearby like local populaces. It sounds like we're going to Waterdeep and we're going to, other places around and then having some fun adventures there. I feel like if you're running this as an adventure, just running the same PCs through it all, you're going to get a fun smattering of going around the world and just having a blast. The guideline and adventure example that Chris Perkins provided helped generate a few fun ideas, but I submitted only one idea as a brief pitch. Chris's response was, and I quote, "Your pitch is delightful. I still need to print that out and frame it." Once my idea was approved, I was off to the races with nuts and bolts. And we also get a little bit more insight about the adventure for reasons that are absolutely narratively motivated, not nefarious or mischievous at all. My first draft of the adventure included an NPC named Dognuts. The character was mentioned only once, and I thought it might get away with it. But Chris Perkins read every word, and the character's name choice was highlighted as a bullet point in the email that read, "Dognuts?" So hey, that's giving us some hope. It's not saying that it got removed. So maybe we'll have Dognuts in adventure. Who knows? Book 11. Here we have Zikran Sephir's Tome by Taymoor Rehman. So Taymoor actually established himself in Wizards of the Coast not through D&D initially, but through Magic the Gathering. Then jumped to the D&D team. The writing process of Candlekeep Mysteries was back and forth affair with regular feedback from Chris Perkins. Taymoor spent early pitches figuring out what worked and what didn't work. It was a fantastic experience pitching to Chris, Taymoor remembers. He offered a very frank critique, but his feedback was always constructive and it was nice about it. The best criticism I got was when I sent in a pitch that I was sure would work. Chris came back and said, "This isn't a mystery." I read it again and realized he was right. It was just an adventure that had to be fixed. Once we had the concept nailed down, Chris handed me the reins. Taymoor's adventure features a book with a genie trapped inside of it. The entity asks the players to help it escape from the hardback prison, and the key to release it lies in the genie's former master, a mad wizard on the cusp of mastering elemental magic. Ooh, I like that. You're gonna have to, work alongside this genie to fight some mad mage. That's pretty cool. And I believe we got some more info about that earlier, about how this genie could theoretically become your friend. I think that's pretty awesome. You're definitely sitting there saying that, oh yeah, we could have a permanency. And that's another thing I'm liking. I like the idea of permanency throughout this little series of one-shots. Of course, one-shots are usually, self-contained, but if you're running this more as an adventure, running it side by side with all the other ones, then there should be some permanency to it, right? Book 12, The Curious Tale of Wisteria Vale by Kienna Shaw. I don't know why I'm getting Desperate Housewives kind of. In Desperate Housewives, it's Wisteria Lane, right? I think that's what it is. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. So like many of the other writers here, Kienna tweeted out, oh yeah, I want to do something, and Bill saw it. And with that, when Candlekeep Project started development, Bill reached out to me again, asking if I would be interested in work on it, to which I said yes, and the rest is history, she tells Dragon Plus. Who the frick is gonna say no to writing an adventure for D&D? What the heck? Kienna's book, The Curious Tale of Wisteria Vale, holds the key to freeing Arndt Quell, a bard who has languished in a demi-planar prison. He's been awaiting the cure for madness for years, and now that a remedy has been found, the adventurers must administer it. But Quill may not be the greatest danger that lurks in this prison plane. Ooh, once again, we're getting another thing that's kind of showing off that, yeah, someone took that pitch seriously about how these books are a portal to adventure. I like that. We're getting such a nice spread. Candlekeep itself, these books, the world around, just fantastic. A party playing through my adventure is sent to a strange demiplane on a quest to cure a legendary bard who has been corrupted by evil. My inspiration for the story comes from the strange twisting of reality that often goes hand in hand with fey tales. I also wanted to draw upon the power of twist and things being not quite as they seem, and always employed so successfully in Shakespeare's plays. The more and more I'm reading of the stuff, the more I'm just so thrilled to go ahead and finally sit down. We're only, half a month away from this, and I'm going to be running it for everybody. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. Book 13, The Book of Inner Alchemy by Daniel Kwan. So Daniel is actually doing something that's near and dear to my heart. He has co-founded Level Up Gaming, an organization that helps adults with autism and other disabilities. My brother is autistic, so that definitely, resonates with me. And going into a bit of information about the adventure, I wanted my adventure, The Book of Inner Alchemy, to emulate the feel of classic kung fu movies from the Shaw Brothers studio, such as Executioners from Shaolin. Yes, we're getting a kung fu movie? Yeah! The part of this process I enjoyed the most about being able to add the lore about Qi, or Qi as it's represented in D&D monk mechanic. In Chinese culture, Qi is the vital energy central to traditional Chinese medicine, and it's foundational to the Chinese martial arts. I wanted to add more depth of its use in D&D. Heck yeah, we're getting a freaking Shaolin movie. This is great. I hope we get some like wushu stuff. Oh, that's gonna be great. Each adventure in the Candlekeep Mysteries is represented by a book, and Daniel's take on the form of a martial arts manual. Oh, that's totally awesome. A search for the missing pages of the Book of Inner Alchemy puts adventurers in conflict with monks of the Immortal Lotus. Heroes who defeat those show villains and retrieve the pages can learn from the secrets on making gloves of soul catching, a new and legendary magical item described in the adventure. This adventure is perfect for players looking for more about martial arts, and it's a great story for DMs wishing to include more action drama in their campaigns. Heck yeah, we're getting a mystery infused with a kung fu hustle movie. Heck yeah, I'm already sold. This is fantastic. Book 14, we have The Canopic Being by Jennifer Kretschmer. So the Canopic Being is something that we've touched on before, but her story, The Canopic Being, revolves around a whirring text that records a number of organ transplants. The adventure takes the characters all the way from Candlekeep to Tashluda, a temperate city built in the side of a volcano in Tashalar. You get to travel a lot in my adventures. Starting D&D 2nd edition, we haven't seen Tashluda and the D&D for a couple of editions. I was very excited to get a dive into a place outside of the Sword Coast. I wholeheartedly agree. Unfortunately, a lot of the 5e stuff is taking place on the Sword Coast, but there is more to that D&D world. There is a big old world, and I'm willing to bet that we're going to be seeing a lot more of it fairly soon here, if not through all these other, campaign settings, but maybe just hopefully just all around the Forgotten Realms. She says, I have visual spatial processing issues, so I have a really hard time conceptualizing a dungeon, especially a non-linear dungeon that's multiple levels. I'm very, very proud of the map, but it took an obscene number of hours to create. Well, thankfully, your hard work is going to pay off, because I know a lot of people are going to dig it. And in fact, she goes on to saying that she went to such great details, making it isometric and putting out labels, that The next time it'll be a house with no hidden doors, no traps, no stairs, no ramps, and just 3 rooms. Jen describes the project as a phenomenal experience and a dream come true. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the dream. And of course, we know this adventure is going to take place in a area we haven't seen before in 5th edition, and it's going to be a dungeon of a very unique design. For book 15, we have The Scrivener's Tale by Brian Stobbard. Interesting enough, when Brands was given the info about Candlekeep, they were actually told that it'd be a wide level range. I had the option to decline such a high tier because it is a challenge to write for that level, but getting to play with that and needing the account for high level powers sounded like it'd be fun to me. In The Scrivener's Tale, a tome leaves its magical mark on the adventurers as they struggle to contain the evil archfey trapped inside it. The heroes must save themselves as their journey takes them from the ruins of a forgotten kingdom and its ancient subterranean library. Heck yeah, that sounds awesome. When one of the PCs reads from a cursed book, it turns out to be a lot more than just any old curse. A powerful fae get involved. Learning more about how the book came to Candlekeep leads the characters further into danger. Brands believes that the adventure fiction, including adventure gaming, works best when its central question or series of questions to be answered. It doesn't have to include a murder for it to be compelling mystery, just interesting questions and a burning desire to answer them. And Brands goes on to say that the biggest mystery I've solved as a D&D player is in the Planescape campaign where we stepped out into the streets of Sigil and everything we saw was off somehow. Planescape is an awesome setting, and I seriously hope that we get a good old Planescape supplement for 5th edition because it's just such an awesome setting. Book 16, Alcazar's Appendix by Adam Lee. Adam goes on to say that one of the mysteries he had to solve was trying to beat the big bad of Curse of Strahd and how big of a pain it was. Alcazar, the author of Alcazar's Appendix, has similar problems finishing a mission. In the book, he tells the reader about his ultimate quest, the hunt for one of the fabled Nether Scrolls, which he was forced to abandon due to strange circumstances. He hopes that the readers will take up the call and clear up the mystery of the Wandering Stone Golem in the desert of Anauroch. So yeah, Anauroch is a pretty awesome place. It's dealing a lot with the fallen Netherese Empire. I'm a big Egyptology nerd, and I love the idea of having an adventure set in the desert of Anauroch, where the fallen empire of the ancient Netheril lies under its sweeping sands. Indiana Jones is also a big influence on a good deal of the D&D writing, because I think it's the right tone for the D&D adventures and characters. There's a warmth of Salah, and awesome jerkiness of Tote, and the badassery of Marion, and the overall pulp vibe of the world. And apparently we will befriend this golem. My main NPC of the adventure is the golem that the PCs will find to learn about in order to complete their quest. For this, I drew on the Iron Giant. Oh no, is this stone golem gonna have to sacrifice himself in the end? Oh, don't do that to us, please. Adam reflects that if he was running Alcazar's Appendix, he'd use it as a Kickstarter to a wider Netheril campaign, where the outcome sets off a series of events that lead the party into an epic storyline in Anauroch and beyond. The potential prize to offer for characters who successfully solve the mystery is an extremely powerful magical item, matching the fairly high-level nature of the task. Oh, please don't make us sacrifice the golem. Oh no, you know so many DMs are going to sit there and, say, I am Iron Man. Oh, that's so sad. And finally, book 17, Xanthoria by Tony Winslow-Brill. Ideas morph and change as you go through the writing process. Some of the parts of the story that I really like ended up not being used because as I was writing, I realized that didn't fit well with the rest of the adventure. I'm the first to admit that I can be a little verbose, so sometimes it was a struggle to stay within the required length of the adventure. That's how writing goes. I will save those bits and seeds for future adventuring ideas. Unfortunately, sometimes you gotta kill your darlings, and especially if you are writing for D&D and they tell you, hey, it has to be, it can only be this many number of pages, you're not going to be able to fit everything you want in there. The story elements that make up Xanthoria have been captured in a fell grimoire that details a deadly fungal plague, but Xanthoria is more than just it seems in the name of the book. It also is the last word spoken by those who succumb to the plague. The word itself is synonymous with death, and those who pursue the reason will need to be experienced adventurers. This adventure is designed to be dropped into any high-level campaign, and the most challenging element of writing it was trying to nail its difficulty. Every party is different, so creating the adventure that challenges most of them appropriately is often a tough target to hit. My first draft was a little too tough, so I adjusted the difficulty. Ooh, so high-level play here, and we're dealing with a plague. So high-level content and a plague where people, when they're about to die, say the word death out loud. That's kind of creepy. That is a true mystery there. What the heck is causing this? Whew, and just like that, we've gone through. We've gained a lot of insight there on the writers and on the books themselves. I seriously cannot wait to start seeing more of it. Methinks that we're going to be seeing a lot more of it fairly soon here, especially when it drops on May 16th. I'm going to be covering that quite a lot. We're going to be going into all the adventures individually and as a whole, and I cannot wait for that. This was an absolute delight to read through because I seriously love that we're getting different writers for all these different things. And that's also unique too. We are seeing that they are expanding greatly. That not only are they getting an adventure written up by so many different people, but we're also getting a campaign setting written by a whole bunch of different people in regards of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. That is so awesome. I love that. That's giving the community a chance to interact because all of these people came from the community. And that's showing us that everyday people can be a part of D&D if they're willing to go ahead and put in a ton of work. I seriously can't wait to see what comes out of Wizards of the Coast next. I can't wait to see what comes out of D&D next. I can't wait to see what comes out of everything next because it's just going to be an absolute delight to see. And the community is just so great. That is going to do it for this one, though. I can't wait to see what it has to offer, and I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about it. This is an absolute delight, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my awesome patrons up here. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much. That is going to do it for me. Thank you so much for listening, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.